A look into the most watched trailers from the PlayStation Showcase, Ratchet and Clank debuts on PC, CD Projekt shuts down acquisition rumors, and Final Fantasy XVI was planned for PS4. All that and more in today's PlayStation news. Let's get to them. We're a week removed from the PlayStation Showcase, so let's check how the show did. According to GameSite, the showcase was the second best of the last 3 showcases with over 4 million views in 72 hours, beating 2021 but not 2020. As of recording, the VOD sits at 4.6 million views and 5.7 when adding up the subtitle option. The least viewed trailers include indie game Ultros with 78,000 views, Synapse for PSVR 2 at 74,000, The Plucky Square with 72,000 views, Cat Quest Pirates of the Peruvian had 71,000, and Last Teardown with 65,000 views. Top trailers from the showcase include the Spider-Man 2 gameplay trailer being the most watched with 8.4 million views, followed by Phantom Blade with 2 million, Metal Gear Solid Delta was third with 1.7 million views, next to the Accessories a Sneak Peek and the Assassin's Creed Mirage trailers with 1 million views each. Looking into PSVR 2, the best trailer was easily Five Nights at Freddy's Hell Wanted 2 with 463,000 views, and with Sony focusing on games as a service, the best performing one was easily Bungie's Marathon with 419,000 views. What were your favorite trailers from the showcase? Are you surprised with the reception for any of them? Share with us in the comments. Sony has announced the return of their yearly Days of Play promo from June 2nd until June 12th. PlayStation Plus members can save 25% on 12-month membership of any tier and 25% off on 1, 3, and 12-month memberships when upgrading to a higher plan. PlayStation Direct stores will have deals on games and accessories in the US, UK, France, Germany, Belgium, Netherlands, Luxembourg, and the just added Austria, Italy, Spain, and Portugal. These new regions can also save extra with code DOPSAVE15 for 15% off in select accessories and DOPSAVE40 for 40% off in select games. PlayStation Gear Store will have 20% discount on merchandise and free shipping with code DaysOfPlay23. And of course there will be a big PlayStation Store sale during those dates, so check the store on June 2nd. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart is launching for PC with a port handled by Nixxes Software after the franchise celebrated 20 years last November. Rift Apart has Ratchet & Clank going on a multiverse adventure to defeat Dr. Nefarious with the help of newcomers Rivet and Kid. The PC port features ray trace reflections and shadows with the expected level of customization, ultra-wide support, plus NVIDIA DLSS 3, AMD FSR 2, Intel XeSS, Insomnia Games Temporal Injection, NVIDIA Reflex, and DLAA. Controllers are also fully supported with DualSense compatibility, including haptics and adaptive triggers when used via wire. Rift Apart arrives on both Steam and Epic Games this July 26, and the game is available for pre-order now with the same pre-order bonuses, a pixelizer weapon and Carbonox armor set. The port also includes the armors from the Deluxe Edition and the 20th Anniversary Pack, which you can learn more of with my previous video here. Linking your PSN and Steam accounts give you an extra 20 Raritarium currency. Sony announcing this game confirms what Trusted Leaker the Snitch said in their Discord server after the PlayStation Showcase, as they knew of many games Sony chose not to reveal at the event, including a PC port launching in July. Speaking of the PlayStation Showcase, more industry insiders are whispering the rumor of a second showcase later this year, after the aforementioned snitch and Insider Gaming's Tom Henderson, who said was surprised about stuff they knew that was left out. Now, podcast host Colin Moriarty spoke in an episode of the Iron Lords podcast and said that he's heard from people that he knows, and it seems it's fairly obvious there will be a new showcase later this year. He assumes it will be more focused on these games that are rattling around. We'll have to wait and see what Sony does. They will have to talk about those single-player games that studios are working on at some point. Moving on, The Last of Us Season 2 production is still on hold with the writer's strike going on, but HBO head Francesca Orsi has shared more details on what we can expect. In an interview with Deadline, she said there will be a couple of new pieces of casting she can't get into, and while Craig and the team can't do any meaningful writing while the strike is going, he and Neil Druckmann have a good sense of what they're taking on. The show will move from Calgary to Vancouver and will be taking a big swing from an entertainment standpoint related to the clickers, but also the more nuanced, complex character dynamic between Joel and Ellie. A Season 3 is not guaranteed, but the duo has a vision for what it would be. Over the weekend there was a big rumor that Sony was going to acquire CD Projekt. It's not the first time that it has been brought up, but now a CDPR spokesperson has shut them down. Ola Sunday replied in a thread from YouTuber Last Known Meal saying that they are not in such talks with Sony. CDPR CEO Adam Kicinski also dismissed the rumor, saying they want to remain independent and they have an excellent strategy, not easy to execute, but very exciting to follow their own path. As I mentioned in Monday's video, the rumor was bizarre because it also cited Days Gone 2 was in production, which we know is not true, and while the CDPR rumor has also been picked up by marketing platform pitchbook.com, nothing has come out of that. It will be very rare for Sony to go after a publisher, as we have seen their MO is going after development studios, the biggest being Bungie. CD Projekt is not in talks with Sony as they are very busy celebrating the new Witcher 3 milestone. The official account shared on Twitter that the game has now sold over 50 million copies across all platforms, that's 10 more million since April last year. It's the best Witcher game in terms of sales, with the other two totaling 25 million, but they were available in fewer systems. The franchise overall now sits at 75 million copies sold across the three main games. In more CD Projekt news, the Polish company is about to double down on the next Witcher game after they finish working on Cyberpunk 2077 DLC. As part of their company report, they presented a graphic showing what games their development teams are engaged with. A big chunk is covering the Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty DLC since 2021, but as it's shrinking down, you can see how the new Witcher game starts growing up. CD Projekt also confirmed Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty will be shown at the Summer Game Fest on June 8th, maybe we could even get a release date there. There's new info on Final Fantasy XVI, and it appears the game was planned to be cross-gen at first. Producer Naoki Yoshida revealed it in an interview with Final Fantasy Union, but the PS4 version was ultimately cancelled as it would have taken a further 1 to 2 years to ensure its quality was high enough. Yoshida has previously praised the PS5 SSD and should have been a big factor in making that decision. The FF16 producer also shared some news with Game Informer, admitting that designing combat and going full real-time was the biggest challenge of development. One of their goals with Final Fantasy XVI was to bring new players into the franchise, and while many on the team love turn-based games, looking at popular games now led them to action games. There was a chance of them doing a hybrid system, but instead they saw this as an opportunity to try to do something the series had never done before. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake appears to be still in development, despite Embracer CEO having no comments about the game in the most recent earnings call, and the developer switcheroo. The title is still listed in the Embracer Group financial report, so it's still happening at some point. After Remedy Games revealed that Alan Wake 2 was going to be a digital-only game, they have received an informal offer from a former partner to publish the game on disc. THQ Nordic replied to a post on Twitter by user Shinobi, reminding everyone they published the disc version for Alan Wake on PC back in the day, and there are a lot of people who still love physical despite some people or companies don't. They would love to publish the game again, full circle. Dragon's Dogma 2 was one of Capcom's games at last week's PlayStation Showcase, and if you were hoping the sequel added some co-op, there's some bad news. On the Capcom website, they list the game as single player despite people's hopes, likely influenced by the Dragon's Dogma online entry that only saw a release in Japan. Hot Wheels Unleashed is getting a sequel according to a new leak by trusted source Bill.con. The user reports the game will be published again by Milestone in 3 editions: Standard, Deluxe, and Legendary. This is the second leak after a toy car with the game's logo appeared online last month. Daedalic Entertainment has just put out the Lord of the Rings column and apologized for it after the game got terrible reviews, but they are giving another try at the franchise. The studio has received 2 million euros in funding from the German government for the development of a second Lord of the Rings title. The German Ministry of Economic Affairs has the game listed under codename It's Magic, and it will have a large world full of mythical creatures and magic, with a story from a character's perspective that has never been told before. Bandai Namco has been testing Tekken 8 at select locations, but they may be getting ready for an online test as it has been leaked over at Steam TV. The leak spotted by Wario64 says the playtest will release on May 30, and while it has not been officially announced as of recording, it could be at any point. Granted, that's a Steam, but given the game was revealed at the June State of Play last year, it's fair to expect it on PS5. The next Elden Ring DLC is still months away, but it seems From Software had different plans for the game. That's as per a report from popular modder Lance McDonald shared on Reddit. He said the game was scheduled to launch with 2 DLCs and a season pass, but the original idea shifted at some point and the Coliseum appeared out of nowhere for free. It seems the game will end up like Bloodborne with 1 DLC, but a massive one instead. There's more news on Metal Gear Solid Delta after an interview with IGN Japan, recapped by Twitter user Metal Gear Solid MGN. Konami's spokesperson said that director Hideo Kojima and Yoji Shinkawa are not involved with the remake, as was expected given their breakup a few years ago. They didn't outright confirm there will be more remakes, but they will be considering it while listening to consumers. As Konami cleared up last week, their internal development team is helming the project with support from Virtuos. And listed by Metal Gear Informer, they will be using the same character voices recorded as they are, so it doesn't look like they will be re-recorded. Do you trust Konami in making a Metal Gear Solid remake even if they will just follow the template? Voice your opinion in the comments or vote in the poll on the community tab. Sticking with Konami, they made a full reveal for Silent Hill Ascension, one of the games discussed at last year's franchise event, developed in collaboration with Gen V's Bad Robot Games and Behavior Interactive. The game is a narrative adventure streaming series very similar to Until Dawn, but played in a group like Twitch plays Pokémon. The game will be streamed at the Gen V website, but Konami plans to release a player for consoles, likely including PlayStation. It appears more trailers and details are coming in the next few weeks for the other Silent Hill games, including Silent Hill 2 Remake, as per leaker Dos Golem. Speaking of reveals, Sega and RGG Studio are ready to give more details on their upcoming games such as Like a Dragon Gaiden: The Man Who Erased His Name and Like a Dragon 8. The livestream will take place on June 15 at 11 PM Eastern, 8 PM Pacific, with links shared closer to the date. Now for new releases, Team Ninja and Koei Tecmo have announced the release date for World of Fallen Dynasty's first DLC. It arrives on PS4 and PS5 this June 29th with a new scenario, new difficulty level, weapon type, enemies, and more. Wrestling RPG WrestleQuest now has an official release date after being delayed earlier this month. It will arrive on PS4 and PS5 this August 8. And those are the PlayStation stories for today. Come back on Friday for a new video, but remember to share your thoughts on any of these news in the comments below, like or dislike to let me know your feedback, check out other videos you may enjoy while you're here, and consider subscribing for more on PlayStation. Thank you so much for watching, my name is Joseph, this is Hype for Games, and let's get hype!